Hail, hail. Good evening, folks, and welcome along to the latest episode of the Endless Celts Podcast. It's a special spin-off edition tonight. We're talking all things FIFA World Cup. We're parking all the Celtic chat for another night and focusing on all the top international stuff that's coming from Qatar this year. Not just that, we'll maybe delve a little bit into the memory bank, a wee trip down memory lane and talk about some of the great moments for years gone by at other tournaments, and of course we'll maybe have a little bit of tribute to the Scotland team from France '98 as well, and hopefully talking about our qualification for a year's time, amongst other things, of course. And for all of that, I'm delighted to be joined by two of the regulars. First of all, the captain of the ship, Stephen, is joining us. How are you tonight, mate?
I'm all good, mate. I'm sitting with a wee lamb sip. I'm all dosed up with a cold, but I'm looking forward to a wee chat about the World Cup. It's something different, something new, and I'm looking forward to it, buddy.
But hopefully you're feeling a wee bit better after this. And I hear that Ross is seemingly likewise under the weather as well, mate. How are you feeling?
I'm the same as Stephen. I think we could be accused of having a wee secret affair if he didn't stay in Belfast. But I'm obviously you can hear my voice. I'm totally choked up. But here I'm talk about. What's that?
You trying to say they're going them cheap flights over, big man? We all know the game.
Hey, if it was happening, you'd be coming to me. I don't go chasing.
Listen, what you two do in your own time, not for me. Maybe quite a decent topic to start off on, considering we're talking about all the controversy of Qatar 22. But say no more. Before we get started tonight, just a wee kind of shout out to our sponsors, Beer 52. The sponsorship, if you go along there, you can still get a free case of beer, provided you cover the postage. And I think we've donated some to our Christmas hamper in the community during the week there. So whoever won it, enjoy it and get stuck in, folks. And thanks, welcome along to everybody in the chat as well. Yeah, and welcome along to everybody else in the show tonight as well. Obviously, there is a game on at the minute, so the fact that you are sitting in talking along with us guys rather than watching the action, it's credit to us. So thanks very much. Appreciate it. And so we're going to just get stuck right into it, boys. And the first, obviously, we're going to address the elephant in the room before we talk about the actual football action. And that's about.
I thought you were talking about me there.
The elephant in the room, obviously, being the Qatar 2022 controversy. Now, it was, whether we like it or not, it was awarded 12 years ago, Ross, in a room. I think it was one of the first times where two tournaments had been decided in the one go. Russia was awarded the 2018 tournament, and then latterly, a few moments later, they brought out the envelope for 2022, and it was Qatar, much to the astonishment of even most people who had already predicted that it was going to be Russia that were getting 2018. And obviously all the controversy that's came with that. But what's your own thoughts on it? Was it a case of, you could tell from the start, it wasn't a decision that's been done without the passing of a few brown envelopes, but that is what it is.
Aye, well, it's that, innit? It's cash, it's money talks, Russia and then Qatar. That's what it was. But it's 12 years ago, and the tournament's here now. I'm all about the football. I'm here for the football. I've got it on in the background tonight watching it because it's a World Cup. I've watched the World Cups. I've never missed a World Cup anytime it's been on throughout my whole life. I'm not going to change that now. It's just what it is. But you see guys, well, all respect for Roy Keane, but you see guys like him and all the other, Gary Lineker, Ian Wright, and they're all taking this moral high ground. The World Cup shouldn't be there. Okay, maybe it shouldn't. I'm no qualified enough to say whether it should or it shouldn't, but it is there. But these guys are having their opinion on it like it shouldn't be there. Yet they're taking their big sums of money and getting well paid, and it's like it's virtue signaling rather than like really protesting. If you really were so against it, all these guys have had 12 years. All these Ken, I'm nothing against gay people or that, but the one love armband, they want to wear it and all that, fair enough. But like, if they feel so, this is how that country is. It's like if they come over to us and started telling us how to live our lives, and I know people will say they're behind the times, fair enough, but in their eyes they might not be. It's their country. It was given to them. We are going to their country. We have to abide by their rules and live the way they want to live. But again, I go back to it. Don't preach on a television screen about morals and all the rest of it when you're picking up big packets off the back of where the tournament is and what the tournament is.
I think that's a fair point, Ross. I mean, guys like us. I mean, I think we're all football fanatics. That goes without saying. But we, of course, we've all always said that it was not the right place to have the World Cup because you knew of a lot of these things. But by the same token, you look at the historical sort of countries that have hosted it, Stephen. Whether people like this or not, and maybe people don't realise this, but in terms of homosexuality, it was actually only completely decriminalised 100% in Britain in the year 2013, which is 3 years after Qatar were actually awarded the tournament. So we try and kind of preach that we're so far advanced and we're way ahead of these nations, but I think the British press give themselves a bit too much credit.
I mean, to be fair, it's a part of a wider discussion. You can obviously narrow it down to the LGBTQ community getting their rights and stuff, which 100% I'm on board with. I don't like any discrimination in any walks of life, football, religion, whatever it may be. Everyone's entitled to be their own person and live with comfortable within themselves without being persecuted or punished for a certain religion or aspect of their life. And you look at the whole Qatar thing, like people died building them stadiums. There's families without fathers, there's families without brothers, families without sons. So you have to take all that into consideration. And I know what you're saying about these pundits. I mean, I love the whole Roy Keane and Graham Souness kind of spat that they had on ITV. And Graham Souness kind of said, look, we all know what's happened here, but England can't take the moral high ground. Look what they've done to Roy's country. And I didn't really expect that to come from Graham Souness. And it kind of took me by surprise because it's true. The English people and English media kind of paint this narrative that they're all God's slave and they do nothing wrong, they commit no crimes. And I mean, there's atrocities that we could sit and talk about for years and years about what they've committed. But in terms of Qatar, money talks, and whoever it was, Sepp Blatter or Infantino, who's accepting these bribes, it's going to happen in some way, some shape or form. I mean, the Asian countries want to be publicising football, and that's well within the right to be that, whether it's Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Ghana, whatever. But yeah, the whole Qatar thing, it doesn't sit well with me. The timing of the tournament doesn't sit well with me. The feeling around it, yeah, we're going to get into some of the great clubs who are in it and some of the great players, but I can't shake the feeling I get when I look at the stadiums. I think it's all fake. I think it's all put on for cameras. I think, especially making up attendances, trying to make it seem better than it is. That's a whole lot of propaganda being shoved up down someone's throat. And you look at as you said, the situation with the commentators, Ross, and Gary Neville. Again, the guy who loves to kind of the preach about the English politics and what he would change and all that type of stuff, but yet he's over in Qatar picking up a huge pay packet, not really thinking anything of it. I know people say it's their prerogative to do so, but if they felt so strongly about these situations, you don't go. You stand your ground, you don't go, you make a stand, you make a protest, because whether you like or not, protest is the only way stuff's ever going to be done. Do you know what I mean? People are going to stand up and listen if the likes of Roy Keane aren't going to the World Cup to represent the UK, or an Ian Wright, or a Gary Neville, or Alex Scott, or whoever it may be. Do you know what I mean? It's one of these things. It's a taboo thing that people don't like to talk about and express because they think it brings heat onto themselves. I don't agree with the Qatar World Cup. And as I said, the timing of it is horrendous for me. The feeling around it, people dying to build these stadiums in time for people just to play football. That's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And the camps these people lived in, again, that's disgusting. And that's never ever going to be investigated. They're going to get let away with that because they've got the money, they've got the whatever, they've got the wealth. It should never be like that. Football should be a working man's game, but it's not no more. The elites run football, and we're going to have to get used to it.
That's the thing, Ross. It's it is the beautiful game. There's no denying that, but unfortunately, the people that run it, whether that be UEFA, FIFA, the people at the very top, like you said at the very beginning, it's all bribes and backhands, and you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and I think it's needless to say, it's not a tournament, that might get looked back fondly on like the likes of France '98 or an Italia '90 or something like that, but it is what it is, as they say on Love Island, and the tournament is here. It's upon us. We're, first week into the tournament, we're nearly into tonight's the last round of the group, the second phase of group matches, Stephen. And what's been your thoughts generally on the football side of things? Has there been matches you've enjoyed? Has there been any moments that's really stood out? Any players, or a favourite game or anything like that?
Well, to be fair, the schedule of it's hard. Obviously, being at work from 8:30 to 5:30, or maybe you're going to miss the majority of the afternoon games. But on the odd occasion, I do catch them. I mean, you look at the usual suspects. England being talked about after they beat Iran 6-2, like they're going to be world beaters again, and then USA kind of humbled them and actually should have beat them in that game. You look at Netherlands with Van Dijk, people like that, they have a chance. I mean, when you're talking about particular games, the one that draws to me is the France and Australia game. I missed the 2 games today, which are probably the best of the tournament. The free each game and the 3-2 game. The Ghana was involved in. They've been involved in some cracking games so far in the World Cup. But I mean, France totally dominated Australia. I mean, if you're bringing the likes of Kingsley Coman off the bench, you're littered with talent. And I mean, Oliver Giroud starting up front. You're missing Benzema. You've got Dembele on the right. You've got Tuini in the middle. These guys are absolute ballers, and they dismantled them. And the biggest upset, obviously, was the Argentina game. I don't know if any of you saw the what was it, the halftime team talk that the Saudi Arabia manager gave his players. It was absolutely incredible. Like, you could take photos with them after the match and all this stuff gets stuck in, just being about him, and they went and won the game 2-1. And let's be fair, like, this is what Postecoglou means. Like, we underestimate these nations and these players because we haven't heard of them before. It's merely ignorance from our part. But you look at some of them Saudi Arabia players. I think it was Al Azif, the captain, the number 10. He's fantastic. He was quick. He was dynamic. He took the ball in. He was skinning Argentine players for fun. The second goal, I think, was a cracker. And again, they made Argentina look ordinary. Do you know what I mean? It's one of these things that in World Cups you're going to get upsets, which is quite obvious. But we need to take heed of these nations, I think, and actually look at these markets like Postecoglou says. And if you get a gem from these nations, you're going to be happy, aren't you? I mean, you look at Canada. Canada have had a good World Cup. I know they got duffed the last game there, 4-1. I think it finished 4-1. But the way they played with no fear, that's how we played the Champions League. They've got some good players like Buchanan, who plays for Club Brugge. He was on the right, above our new right back, Alistair Johnson, who looked pretty solid. Do you know what I mean? So there's players in that tournament that I'm really interested in. Teams I like watching. And as I said, I don't agree with the tournament, but you can't help it. Just the world class players on the show, you have to appreciate it somehow.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. But what about yourself, Ross? As I say, we're a week into the tournament now. We're ball deep into the group stages, you could say. Any standout moments for yourself, or any players, or have you enjoyed the upsets and things like that?
Well, I mean, just touching on what Stephen had said there, going to the Japan-Germany, that was an upset. And obviously, he was talking about Postecoglou saying, and we have to take heed of these nations. And I'm sure it was Jose Mourinho was getting interviewed the other day, and he was asked about that game, and he was like, well, these all seem sort of surprised in that, he says, but these nations are up and coming, and they're doing well, and there's good players. Like Japan have got, couldn't name them, but they've got guys playing in the Bundesliga and stuff like that. So it is a shock in the sense of, if you look at the two nations and their like history of the World Cup, but at the same time, Japan have got really good players. Look at the guys we've got, and they can't even get into that team. But then they go out and of course they lose to Costa Rica, sod's law. But I mean, for me, I think that. But I bet Brazil at the start of the tournament, and I've took Ronaldo to be top goal scorer as a double. Ronaldo's just scored there, which is good. It's 1-0 to Portugal. But I watched bits and pieces of Brazil the night. Fits and starts. It was the same against Serbia, but I think their depth going into the latter stage of the competition, I think, might tell. I think France, I think they look a really good side. I think so far Mbappe has been, he looks really up for it. Star of the tournament so far, I would have to say. You've got Spain, who obviously they dismantled Costa Rica, played really well in spells against Germany. I don't think there's a better team, certainly international wise, there's no better team that plays through the press better than Spain do. I'm surprised actually how good they've been. I say surprised on the ball. I know they're renowned for that down the last maybe 10 to 15 years, and they're starting to get. They had like Xavi and Iniesta. Now they're getting guys like Gavi and forget the other guy's name, but
Pedri.
Pedri, top quality players. I don't know. It might be slightly maybe a tournament too soon for Spain, but I think they'll go into the latter stages. But going off of what I've seen so far, I bet Brazil at the start of the tournament. If I was betting now, I would probably bet France. But it's really interesting.
Can I say something there as well?
Aye.
Like Brazil, for me, they've been very ordinary, and I thought they played better when Neymar went off injured. I really did. I thought they actually came into the game, and the wee lad Rodrigo created loads of chances on the left-hand side. I know Casemiro scored a cracking goal today, didn't he, for them to win 1-0. I don't think they have enough about them to win the World Cup. I think France and Spain, possibly even maybe Croatia, by the way, who are dark horse all the time in these tournaments, that have some world-class operators. And then Ryan Kelly comes in. Stephen had just finished Friday's night show earlier on today. Was it definitely one of the Canada centre-backs? And yes, it was Camille Miller. And don't come back to that, because I know he had an absolute shocker against Croatia. But in the first game I watched him, he was really good and he was really solid. But yeah, I think France, they're the team for me. I think they look the most impressive in terms of going forward and a defensive unit. And to be honest, hard to break down. It was interesting that in the Germany game, starting Nieta up front, and as a lone striker, he kind of done the press. He done the hard yards, and then Asano, the Japan player, come on, and what a goal! By the way, that second goal, what an absolute screamer! Over the top, took it down, bang, roof the net, unbelievable goal. It's an interesting World Cup.
Aye, just what you were talking about, Maeda. It's really interesting and weird, like that. He's obviously got in the Japan squad, and the first game he starts up front through the middle. There's absolutely no way that you're playing him through the middle before Kyogo for Celtic.
No,
it's really interesting. I don't know what the manager sees. I don't know if there's maybe better players out wide. I don't know, but it's interesting in terms of in terms of sort of standout goals so far. I think you have to look no further than probably Richarlison's goal against Serbia. That was a beauty. I seen a couple of folks saying he's the new R9 off the back of it, but I mean, tongue-in-cheek stuff. But Stevens, I don't know if you've seen any of the games today, Anthony, but the Cameroon game, was that the one that finished 3 each? I think it was.
Yeah. Aye. I seen the chip. I seen the goal.
Aye. Oh, that's what I was just going to touch on. Their second goal. I don't know if the guy would finish it like that had he thought he was onside. He thought he was offside. And he thought he was onside. I don't think he would have finished the ball at it. He maybe would have lashed at it or whatever. But he's just like scooped it with his foot, and it must have went about 10 yards over the height of the bar. But then it comes down and bounces, and then just bounces in just underneath the bar. It was an absolutely tremendous finish. It's one of the ones you just fart about with your mates up the park and used to do it. Used to scoop it up, try and run round them, but this guy scooped it up right into the net. It was a beauty, and it was a great game. And the game after that, the Korea game, that was another brilliant game. Total ding-dong battles. I think Serbia lost a 2-goal lead, and then so did Ghana. I mean, I wasn't watching them. I was actually painting somebody's hall, and I had the guy's telly on in the living room, so I was putting the heater in the corner every so often. But they seemed like really good games, and what I seen of them, they were evenly matched teams. So probably the two games today, in terms of end-to-end ding-dong battles, they've been the two best. Whether they've maybe I was going to say maybe you have to say that the best quality you've seen was last night's game again with with Spain and Germany. But then, as good as Spain are on the ball, it was a lot of like slack passing in that in the middle of the park and breaking the play up, and defenders were getting the better of them. But it changed when Morata came on. I think you have to touch on him as well. I think he's came on in the 2 games for Spain. They've decided to go with a false 9. You can't say it didn't work against Costa Rica, but it's a lesser team. Don't think it really worked against Germany. Their manager, Luis Enrique, recognised that, and right away he made a big difference. Just playing on the shoulder, running in behind, and he got his goal, and it was a tremendous goal actually. Gets in front of the defender and gets just a flick on it, but it wasn't like an aimless flick. He gets a foot on it, but he knows exactly what he's doing with it. And he puts it into the roof of the net. Really good goal. And I think for me, if Spain want to be successful in this tournament, I think they have to start with him up top. He's not the best number 9 in the world, but he's a number 9. And if you've not got a number 9 in your team, you're going to struggle to win a game, in my opinion, unless you're like fucking Man City or something.
I think Gavi is exceptional.
He was shite last night because I bet him to score in the game.
Magnificent, but he's a magnificent player. If you actually think about it, like you look at the back when they won the World Cup, Iniesta and Xavi. Now you've got Gavi and Pedri sit like as the centre mids, and Busquets still there. I think that's quite a symbol, to be honest. And they're 2 young kids, like 17, 18 or whatever age they are, and they're on their 10th or 9th, like 12th, 15th cap for Spain. And I think that's a major difference between them guys. And it always comes back to me for the argument. I remember hearing a quote that I think it was Pep Guardiola said, for every Jack Wilshere when he was young and good, there's 10 or 12 of them coming through academies in Spain every day. And English media rate these players up to the highest, like they're going to be the next big thing, where Spain have conveyor belts of talent coming through year on year. I mean, let's be honest, we never heard much hype about Gavi and Pedri up until last year. But they've been bubbling under the surface at Barcelona for years and years and years, and they've kept them quiet. Now they've burst onto the scene. And see if that's their midfield for the next 10, 15 years. That's absolutely incredible.
By the way, what I would say is, I can't believe that Phil Foden, I totally agree with Gary Neville, I cannot believe Phil Foden will go in the park on Friday night. He is the level Agave. He's that good. He plays that way. He's every bit as good as him. Do you not agree with that, Stephen? I think he's absolutely world class. And he's a mainstay in a Pep Guardiola Man City team. He's world class. I don't think it can be argued.
But Pedri and Gavi for me.
Aye, but he's been moulded by David Silva. You're not going to tell me David Silva wasn't at the level of what Gavi or Pedri's could be or is going to be. I think Phil Foden is right up there with him.
You have to understand, Pedri and Gavi are 17, 18. Like, there's a big difference here. They're going to be far better.
Foden about 21 or something.
So 22, 23 now. He's getting, well, not getting on, but he's still in that development stage. But what I'm saying is, Pedri and Gavi, they'll be streets ahead of him by the time he's 28, 29. I think that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Interesting conversation there, boys. But
Anthony, what do you think? What do you think?
He's a Man U supporter.
No, not the Pedri and Gavi situation, but you asked us about the World Cup. How do you feel about it?
Aye. Well, listen, for some of the reasons previously outlined, we've obviously got your reservations about where it is, etc. But if you're looking at it from purely a footballing point of view, I think it's been okay. And it is quite frustrating when some of the games are on when you're at work, and it's not when it's in Europe, and you've still got 2 or 3 games to look forward to when you come home. But from what I've seen of it, I think it's going okay. I think obviously after the opening game, everyone thought it was going to be a complete damp squib, and we were going to be playing these matches in front of proper empty stadiums. And that's clearly not been the case. I know we've got the old accountant at Rangers doing the attendance figures, but I think all in all, it's been a pretty decent spectacle, and we've had some great moments so far. And I hope that continues, obviously, as the tournament goes on. And in terms of the chat about, England, I totally agree, Ross. I think one of the issues that England are always going to suffer from, especially under Southgate, is that Southgate sets out to not lose first. That's his primary goal. He's like a pound shot Mourinho in that case. Jose Mourinho is one of the greatest managers of all time, but outlay from the start is must not lose. So you're more thrill players or flair players, if you want to call it that. Your Trent Alexander-Arnolds, your Phil Fodens, your Mavericks like Jack Wilshere. These guys are always going to be, Jack Grealish, sorry, we're getting the Wilshere here. Like, what the fuck am I talking about here? Your Jack Grealishes of this world, they're always going to be sort of still ranked below the likes of Rashford and, and perhaps a Kyle Walker type player who's kind of perhaps done it in previous tournaments. I think going forward, I think England, they've definitely got a great group of players, but I do think Foden is an outstanding talent. I don't think, even with my red tinted specs on, I don't think you can get away from that. But obviously, I hope Wales do them tomorrow. So you can't even pretend to be neutral on it.
Oh no.
Yeah, but moving on, sticking with World Cups are all about the top dogs, the big players, and this is sadly going to be potentially a tournament where we're going to be saying goodbye to some of the true icons of the game. For many, two of the greatest to ever kick a football, Ross, Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. We'll get on to maybe one or two others in a moment. But first, I just wanted you give your thoughts on what you think of these two guys as footballers, and if you think it'll be too long before you see the likes of someone else coming through, or do you think these guys have cemented their legacy as untouchable for quite some time to come now?
I mean, the debate will rage on for years. Who's the best, Messi or Ronaldo? We've all got our preferences. I lean towards Ronaldo just purely because I feel that even when you put him up against guys like Maradona and stuff like that, I feel like, I'm not saying Ronaldo's better than him, but I feel like he's had to work harder to get where he is. The other guys have been God-given natural talents, Messi, Maradona. Ronaldo's had to work at it. And by the way, he's still got talent in there, but he's had to, and he's an athlete. He's got every attribute. He's tall, he's powerful, he can beat a man. He's the greatest goal scorer, in my opinion, of all time. I don't even think, even with the rate that Haaland's scoring at the minute, I don't think he'll get near the goal tally that Ronaldo has reached, and is still, he's still adding to it. He's added to it tonight for his country, but Ronaldo isn't even the best player named Ronaldo. Aye, right, okay. I mean, that's it. It's a debate in itself. I'm not saying he's better than him, but for me, they two, Messi, incredible, and he's I don't know, for about maybe 2008 to 2012, 13, Lionel Messi was absolutely incredible, untouchable at times. The both of them are amazing, and I think you asked me there, is there going to be anybody that I think could maybe come and reach the sort of levels that they have? For me, I don't think there will be for a very long time. Similar to, I don't know, we can go to R9, but you look at Pele and Maradona, and then the gap for them to Messi and Ronaldo. I think it could be that sort of gap again before we see that level of player again. And I think, I have to say, R9, I watched his documentary, it was absolutely incredible. And I think if you take out his knee injuries, he would be in that bracket, right at that level. In terms of over a career span, I think because of injury, he just falls short of these guys. But had it not been for his horrific knee injuries, by the way, let's not pretend they were horrendous. And even watching that documentary and seeing that second knee injury again, it was heartbreaking. You could see the pain and the anguish. It was gutting. What a player. But I think and it's through no fault of his own, just injury just holds him back, in my opinion. But other people will not agree with that, and that's fine, because it's a preference, and that's it. But they two guys have broke record after record, and they're coming to the end now. This will be their last World Cups, and I have to say, I've just seen Ronaldo scoring there, and Messi scored the opener for Argentina. He answered the call when they needed him most because they were really struggling in that game. They weren't creating anything, and he just comes up with a big moment. And that's what Lionel Messi does. It's what Ronaldo does. They've done it all their career, and they're continuing to do it right in the twilight in their final World Cup. And I thoroughly enjoyed Messi's goal. The touch at his feet, and he just bangs it right into the bottom corner. It wasn't an absolutely perfectly clean strike, but he just done enough, and it's just what the guys are all about. They've built a career on it, and I'm so privileged to be able to say I've not got a son, but like see yourself there, Anthony, you'll be able to say in years to come, I watched their entire career from start to finish, and I know the wee man's seen the end of it, but we are privileged to have seen the two guys from start to finish.
I totally agree. Absolutely couldn't agree more, Ross. And Stephen, just your kind of own thoughts on the two of them yourself. I mean, as Stephen Ross alluded to there from Saturday night, Messi, Argentina were looking, they were in a real sticky situation with 20 minutes to go, and Messi just pops up with that little moment of magic. Half a yard of space is all he needs, even at this age. There's just something, and obviously Ronaldo making history, first player to score at 5 World Cups a couple of days before. Even at this stage in their career, these guys are still making history and creating moments that are going to live for generations to come. They're two very special players.
100%. But before we go on to that, I just want to ask Ross something. You said about answering the call. What's that nice piece of artwork I see above your wall? Like
That's and I don't know if you can see it. It's in the Ange Postecoglou photo with the League Cup and the Premier League trophy. I think you can probably get them in the Celtic shop for God knows, I don't know, 60 quid, 80 quid. I got steaming the other week and bought it in a auction for 200 note.
Some days I
fucking it was a great day, but I got carried away straight in there. 200 quid. Aye, you've got that, pal. Made a talk to myself. Wife was delighted with me, but it's here now. It's paid for and it's up in the wall. Nothing I can do about it.
Postecoglou definitely answered our call, didn't he, as Celtic fans? But I get what you're saying. For me, Ross, you're 100% correct. It's about preferences, and I can't look past Lionel Messi. I really can't. I think Lionel Messi, I always remember when I was younger, watching Champions League games all the time. And the only games I'd ever kind of be drawn to is obviously Celtic, and if Barcelona are playing. And you watch the young Messi run the road with the long hair, just weaving in and out of players like they weren't there, scoring magnificent goals. Remember the final against United would have won 2-0. And he was absolutely incredible. He brought Barcelona to different heights. And yeah, the team was littered with talent. They had Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets, Alba coming in later on, and Dani Alves, Puyol. The list goes on. But he was, for me, he was everything. And what an incredible player. And it's a case for me, like they always say, to separate the two players, you need to win a major trophy like the World Cup or Euros, right? But we know Ronaldo's won the Euros. Messi's equal that feat, kind of winning the Copa del America with Argentina, so that they're probably both par in that. And then you look at the final Argentina got to, and for me, it's a case of, I looked at that Argentina team and you had the likes of Higuain, Aguero, Dybala, Di Maria, and for some reason they never really gelled together. They never gelled as a cohesive unit. You had Mascherano in there as well, come towards the end of his career, and even Sebastian Veron, for some weird reason, was coming on playing when he was like 36. But it was just one of them teams. It was a little bit of talent, but never worked. Much like that England team when you had Lampard, Gerrard, Scholes, and different people vying for positions. And it was a case of being unlucky. It was one glorious chance from Higuain. He missed it and lost that World Cup final to Germany 1-0. And it was just heartbreaking for Messi. And I think he retired after that for a while from international duty. And the likes of Ronaldo, I can appreciate what a great player he is. I know he's done it in La Liga. He's done it in Serie A. He's done it in the Premier League twice now, obviously coming back to United. But Messi, for me, is a team player. He does it for the team. And I see that when he was playing yesterday, the day before, before he scored that goal, see the level of disrespect them pundits were throwing at him. It was incredible.
Scandalous, wasn't it?
He's not interested. He doesn't want to be there. Lee fucking Dixon. Are you having a laugh? Are you serious?
Like, terrible, man. He's terrible.
It's like he was just listening in an earpiece. He just went, "Give me that ball." Bang. Won the game for Argentina. That's what the guy does. He does what Messi was always incredible at, was finding space. And because he's got a wee bit older, he walks and jogs a wee bit more, but he always finds them wee loopholes and then wee bits of areas to be in, receives the balls, after he said, one touch out of his feet, a nice caress finish into the bottom right corner. No power, just swerve on it. Like the Haksabanovic one he scored out for us, the swerve around the post kind of, and then went in. But Ronaldo, as I said, 5 different World Cups, numerous Champions Leagues, all that type of stuff. But interviews with Piers Morgan all because he's a showbiz man, like trying to get out of the club. And whether it was right what he done, I just don't agree with it. And I know United have their problems. I'm not United's biggest fan, but if you want to sort that out, sort it out in house and get a lawyer in and just do it privately. But I think Messi, he wins it for me all day. Like and all this shit about he couldn't do it in the cold night. What's this? Messi couldn't do it in the cold night at Anfield, couldn't do it at Stoke. See if Messi came to the Premier League, if you put him in a City team with Pep Guardiola, you wind me up. It'd be dog food to him. Like it'd be easy for him. People just think about his longevity at Barcelona and the reason he didn't leave. He didn't want to leave because he was happy. Like we loved Larson staying with Celtic all them years. He gave us his prime years, and there's still discussions around him whether he was world class or not. He went to United and done it there. He went to Barcelona and won the Champions League. Do you know what I mean? He's went to PSG. Yeah, it's an easy move because it's another big club, but he's still going to win league titles. He's still probably going to get in about the Champions League somewhere else as well. He's probably going to spend another year there before he goes off to America with Inter Miami, I believe, which is an interesting one. But it has to be Messi. I think the disrespect he gets sometimes is incredible. And I know, as you said, that Ronaldo wasn't blessed with the skill, wasn't blessed with I had to work hard for it. It's professional football, mate. You have to work hard no matter what. I think Messi's not working hard. He's working hard every day to be the best, and he's still being the best. And he's incredible. I just think he's unbelievable.
I've just realised, obviously, we're paying tribute to Messi and Ronaldo, and then I've just realised that that we might have to revisit the subject when we get to the agree to disagree section. But it's obviously it'll always be about those two whilst they share whilst they're still actively playing. But of course, there's the likes of Luka Modric, Lewandowski. There's a chat. It might well be Kevin De Bruyne's final tournament as well, and it wouldn't, as much as Messi and Ronaldo will always be the top dogs. We have to pay tribute to the guys as well. So they've gave us some great memories as well, not just in the international stage, but at club level as well. But Ross, I'm going to come back to you for this one, because obviously that's obviously Qatar 2022 so far, and there's still a hell of most of the tournaments still to be played. But the World Cup itself, it happens, once every 4 years. It's one of these two events that create memories and things that will stay with you for your entire footballing life as a fan. When you see these opening credit scenes for every time there's a new tournament, when you see some of the images and footage for years gone by, you can instantly remember where you were when the first time you seen it, if it was something that maybe on a DVD or on a montage, or if you watched the game live yourself. Is there any, for the World Cups that you remember, is there anything in particular that truly stands out, or is there anything that you've maybe seen multiple times that you just think that's just what the World Cup's all about for me?
I mean, where do you start with that? There's been so many standout moments, like in my lifetime of watching football, and then obviously ones you've seen for before you were born. Obviously, the ones before you were born, the ones that stand out are like the Carlos Alberto goal in 70, and then you've got the Maradona Messi run against England 86. But in my lifetime, standout moments, I mean, I can just remember Italia 90, bits and bobs. USA 94 was my first one that I can properly remember. So many standout moments in that. Early in the tournament, you had the Ray Houghton half volley over Pagliuca. Unbelievable. And I'm sure Franny won't thank me for saying this, but when he was younger and Ray Houghton scored that goal, Franny thought Ireland had won the World Cup. But he thought that was it. He said, "Is that Ireland won the World Cup?" He's like, he's like, no. But and then you go a wee bit further into that tournament. One that always stood out for me was it was Hadji for Romania against Colombia in a group game, and it was like he takes a shot for like the touchline, the angle of the in line with the angle of the box, lobs the keeper, but no like a looping lob, just arrows it, and it goes right into the top corner. An absolutely phenomenal goal. There was for me in my lifetime, that's the best tournament that I can remember. You had Branco's Thunderbolt, and I think it was the quarter final for Brazil against Holland. But then obviously you move on to other tournaments later. You had Bergkamp's goal in France '98 against Argentina. Absolutely sublime. I can't remember if it was Frank or Ronald de Boer plays the ball over the top. He absolutely kills it stone dead. And the same movement brings it inside the Argentina player. He hasn't got a clue where he is. And then he just plays it with the outside his foot. I'll say that word again. Nonchalant. Right into the top corner. It was an absolutely phenomenal goal. Unbelievable. And then Michael Owens as well, 18-year-old against the same team. So many moments. And for me, one of my favourites, maybe wasn't the best goal, but I loved Del Piero when I was growing up. I thought he was an incredible football player. And to see him scoring the second goal to win Italy the World Cup in 2006, which was, I don't know if it was his final game, but I think it was certainly near the end of his time.
Yeah.
And he's, by the way, he stuck it away with absolute aplomb, gave the keeper no chance, and just ended the game perfectly for Italy. And you see him wheeling away, and it was just a perfect moment for me, growing up loving Del Piero, watching Channel 4, Italia 90, seeing him scoring goals for Juventus against Rangers, free kicks, similar to the Hadji one that we spoke about, plays one over the top of Andy Gorman to the far corner. He was a phenomenal player. So many moments. Probably missed more that guys in the comments will bring up. Stephen will talk about it, you'll do it. But so many moments. The World Cup for me is what football, I mean, we all love Celtic, we do. It's the be all and end all. But for me, what got me into football was probably the World Cup. And for me, it was USA '94. It'll always be that. That'll always be football. And the World Cup is what football's all about. And I absolutely love it.
Here's here to that, my man. Stephen, now I know your views sometimes that you're not, by your own admission, international football's biggest fan. But I'll give you your credit. You're more than involved in the chat tonight. And of course, you're a spring chicken compared to the rest of us. So my question was going to be for you. I was listening to Tony Cascarino on the Game podcast last week, just before the tournament kicked off. Obviously, he had some great moments in his career with Ireland, more than he did at Celtic anyway. But his sort of outlook was that, for all he achieved in the game, and he says that he was reading some article that footballers from the beginning of the career to the end of the career, international football only makes up about 7 or 8% of their total playing time, and moments on the park, goals scored, whatever measure you want to unit you want to measure it against. But he says, however, people will always remember what you achieve more at a World Cup or maybe even a European Championship than what they would for the other 90% of your club career for hell of a lot of players. And so with that kind of outlook, is there any moments that stand out for you, even though you're not international football, it's not your favourite thing, but is there anything that stands out for you that you love about the World Cup?
Well, I mean, to be fair, I'm not a big advocate of international friendlies. I don't like international friendlies during the season and breaking up the season. If it's a World Cup of Euros, I'll sit with here and watch it. Probably not invest it until probably gets to the semi-final and final when you want to see who wins it and stuff like. But Tony Cascarino's an absolute onion. I just believe it. He came up again to us and just wasted himself, and he wasn't great. And my granddad tells me about him, and he was just apparently terrible for Celtic. I don't have much memories myself of him, but you look at the international scene. The reason why players get noticed, I mean, we call it ourselves. It's the players from us are putting themselves in the shop window for a reason. It's the biggest stage of them all, bar the club football, which is Champions League. All the European teams will be looking to see who's performing, bigger price tags, all that type of stuff. So that's, in theory, why you're going to get noticed more at these tournaments. If you perform on a stage like that with the highest pressure, a big money club's going to buy you for a big fee. But in terms of like memories and things you could talk about, for me, that probably the one that stands out. I remember sitting in Ryan's house, who done a rerun with us as well, and we were watching the Germany-Brazil game in 2014, and they dismantled Brazil 7-1. Just a shock performance. I think that Brazil team was like that coming off. There was aging players. Players were quitting international football. There was different things going on behind the scenes. Wasn't quite working out. And I remember his wee brother had a bet on or something for Brazil to win. He was totally deflated, like, and just watching it.
After 10 minutes.
They got smashed 7-1. I think Germany actually took the foot off the gas in the end. And you look at probably the most famous one, and you touched upon the 2006 World Cup final, the Zidane headbutt.
Aye.
Just one of these moments that you'll never forget. And probably, I mean, for me, I was just watching it again in the house. I was a young boy and watching it, and you're like, what did he just do? The headbutt him in the chest. And you remember the scenes after that, Fabio Cannavaro lifting the trophy. What a centre half he was, by the way. Absolutely incredible. And then, as Ross said, Del Piero, just what a player. And you look at, remember that team, you look at like the Trezeguet and players like that. The reason I know these players is watching that wee Channel 4 show with your man, and he just showed you football, like Palmero, not like the pink kit. You always remember that pink kit, and then playing in the fourth tier of Italian football, always at the end of the show, showing you wee highlights from these different games. It was incredible. It's where you learn. But I mean, probably one that stands out is Zidane headbutt for obvious reasons. And I know you're going to come to me about Ireland and things. There's a few things, obviously, people know a certain legend done in terms of the camp and stuff like that, but I'm sure we'll come on to that. But just to kind of go on to the comments here, Frank Kennedy, Cascarino is a wank. Egyptian King, John Barnes was a real baller back in the day. Madness, I never got much caps for England. Kaiser, the best players in the world at that moment, laying it on the line for national pride. What's not to love? Cascarino ridiculed our achievement of Invincibles, and then apparently there's a penalty to Portugal. And then Phil McGinley said, I can't believe it was given, but that's VAR again for you. But yeah, loads of moments, loads of fantastic things you'll remember, and all the types of players. And you touched upon Lewandowski, probably his last tournament. So I mean, these guys, and Pepe for Portugal. What did you call him, Pepe? What was it? Assault Pepe?
Assault and Pepe.
These players you remember going up are slowly dwindling out of the game, and it's a bit sad, like, but there's new players are coming. Pedri and Gavi will fill that void. You know what I mean? You've got like Valverde for Real Madrid. Shut up. Valverde for Real Madrid.
Shut up, yeah.
All these different types of players. So yeah, there's a good generation up and coming. Whether they reach the heights of the previous one, we don't know, but I'm excited for it.
Yeah, you're absolutely bang on. And obviously, when we're talking about players that it might be their last World Cup as well, we obviously have to throw in Aaron Moy as well. Just absolutely, another maestro performance yesterday, Stephen. I'm sure you'd have been very proud. But you're bang on. That's the thing about the World Cup. The Zidane moment, I always remember when he got red carded, there's the iconic image of him walking past, because the World Cup was out on a plinth, just in front of the dugouts, and that was his last game, and walking past the World Cup, the sort of fallen idol sort of thing. It's a moment captured in time. But you're absolutely right, Ross. A lot of the obvious ones would be Maradona, whether it be the hand of God or, in my opinion, the greatest individual goal ever scored against England 2 minutes later, or Carlos Alberto being the team goal, and other ones. But one of my, and it's not one that I've seen live. Obviously, I wasn't even born at the time, but I'm sure. I think people might be able to. I think it was 82 when Italy won, and it was Tardelli scores the winning goal, and it's a very good finish. Don't get me wrong, but it's remembered more for the celebration afterwards, where he's just completely he's completely gone. He's the you wouldn't call it a red mist. It wasn't anger, but it was just sheer emotion, and he's just screaming and screaming and screaming goal. That emotion of the fact that he's probably just won the World Cup for his country, and then he kind of disappears into the grass. You can't actually see him. Just all the players have kind of jumped on him by that point. But I think it's just a brilliant kind of image that kind of sums up what it means for a player to do it on the biggest stage. So that's kind of my kind of iconic moment that I'd ever seen live. But in terms of ones that I have, I'd probably say Zidane, and I would also remember as well, it's a bit of a curveball, but in 2010 when South Africa got the World Cup and Shabala opened the scoring, just the way that Shabala.
Oh, aye.
Shabala. Oh my God.
And the place just, you remember back in the, because obviously South Africa, littered with its own kind of checkered past, and it was awarded the tournament. But remember back in the day when we just let a tournament take place without, going on and on and on about all their, their past errors. And, everyone celebrated, in unison in that moment in that stadium. Didn't matter whatever the background was. I just remember that it was just summed up what the World Cup's all about for me.
See that goal. That's that Shabala goal. I remember, what age would I have been? About 13. Aye. But I was in the teens anyway. And I remember going out with my mates and we would sit at the pitch and there'd be a net. I mean, for 30 yards out, we would just shout, Shabala! It was smashing the ball. That's how we get in the top bag like he did. Because that's one of the moments, and it sounds cheesy, but it brings everyone together in that moment. As you said, you're celebrating it for South Africa getting that goal and the place going mad, and Kaiser, the Vuvuzelas. You'll never forget them sounds and all the different drums.
Right enough. Remember they tried to sell them in the Celtic Park Superstore for a while after that. Literally
it was just
handing them out for free for every Christmas purchase that year. That's all the other sort of nations aside, Ross. And of course, it wouldn't be a World Cup. Sadly, it was becoming tradition for us not to be there. The old Tartan Army. Well, I was 10 years old the last time we participated in one in France '98. But we were pretty close this year. I think we're pretty in a decent stead to qualify for Euro 24, which will be a brilliant tournament on its own, obviously, in Germany in a couple of years' time. But obviously, it would be fantastic to see them strutting their stuff at World Cup 26. But what's your kind of own memories of France '98? I know it wasn't exactly yesterday, but you'll be able to. You were getting just to that point where you were really starting to build your memories of football. And what's your own thoughts about? I know, as I say, I appreciate there's a tournament to qualify for before that, but are you positive that we could end our wait and appear at World Cup 26?
Well, in terms of that, it's difficult to say because you don't know who you've drawn. I think in terms of Scotland, I think they're in a decent place, or in as good a place as you could hope Scotland to be. I think Steve Clarke's done a decent job. I don't know if there's anybody that Scottish could do a better job. I don't know if he would. I think he's done as good as what he could do with the group of players that he's got, and I'm fairly happy with the way Scotland are going. You look at the what's that? You look at the group. You look at the group for the Euro 2024. I think it's a tough group for Scotland to get out of. Spain, Norway. I mean, Spain. Okay, you're going to get one of the big guns. I mean, they could win the World Cup this year, and that's just what Scotland always seem to get the World Cup winner. Norway, I know they're not at the World Cup, and I know Haaland doesn't make just one player doesn't make a team, but I think Norway will be a very difficult team to beat. Then you look at Georgia, and you're like, out of all the ones we could have got out of that pot, I'd have to say Georgia's the one that you didn't want to get. There's that one that it's right on the bat. If we don't turn up over there, they'll do us. We need to turn up. This is what's killed us. Games against Georgia away from home have killed us in previous campaigns. We need to go over that. You expect to beat Cyprus. It's going to be very difficult. I really, really hope we can do it. And I hope we can do it by just at least finishing second in that group. If not, and we have to do it with the Nations League, then so be it. I really hope we can get to that other World Cup. It would be tremendous. I would love to go to it. It's away over in America and Canada. Highly unlikely that would happen. But it doesn't matter. You would just soak it in as we did in the Euros back home, and just enjoy it every moment of it. But in terms of France '98, I was about 14 at the time. I always remember, obviously we played Brazil, and it was a hotly anticipated game. I remember the build up. I was obviously at high school, and we were in like the PE hall. I think it was like the last period, and it was like the build up because it was the first game of the World Cup, so it was like the opening ceremony and stuff like that. So in the PE hall, we just sat and watched it on the telly gets wheeled in. Again, it's not like that now. It's like a big projector, not but telly get wheeled in. There was folk firing squeegees at it and that through the straw, through the pen.
Is that present? Doesn't sound like a school.
Well, that's the way it was back in my day, kid. But I got wheeled in, watched like a good bit of the build up and stuff like that. And I think we got away from school a bit early. The buses came and picked us up early. Got home, changed, and I went over to my mates and I watched the Scotland-Brazil game. That game itself, I think we done all right in the game. I think obviously Brazil were the better team. They had the better players. But I mean, you have to say that the Tom Boyd one is so unlucky, man. There's nothing he can do about it. It just comes back, hits off him, and goes in. Absolutely nothing he can do about it. We got a penalty to equalise. John Collins, it's absolutely never in doubt. He's scoring that all day long, and he should have hit the penalty at Wembley in Euro '96, and we would have probably seen us drawing level there. But Gary McAllister, who by the way was very good at dead balls, but I think John Collins scores that penalty at Wembley. I know I'm digressing for France '98 there, but he scores that penalty all day long for me. But it was similar to when we played them in Italia '90, where it was the odd goal that beat us, and it was a scrappy goal that beat us. I don't know if you all remember the one in Italia '90. Correct. It sort of breaks to correct. No, you'll know not. But it sort of breaks and Correca gets the foot on it as Leighton comes out, and then I think it's I want to say Muller. He gets it. It looks like it's going by the post, and he sneaks it in. It's a scrappy goal, but again, the better team won the game. But it's difficult to take when you're playing against one of the best teams in the world and you get undone like that, rather than with a moment of sheer class. But you move on to the Norway game. I can't mind where I watched that game, but I can remember Craig Burley not having any teeth in and scoring. He sort of hits it like sort of scissor motion on the sort of half volley, and I can't mind if that put us up 1-0. I think it was. We went up 1-0 and then Norway equalised, and we got our first point. You've got a chance going into that last game, and you're playing Morocco. My God. I mean, Morocco have obviously got a tremendous result the night, but nobody expected Scotland to lose to that Morocco team. But I have to say, they had guys like, it was Mustafa Hadji and stuff like that in the team. These guys were just coming through. They'd sort of played at Coventry in the Premier League. Or in fact, they maybe went to Coventry after that, off the back of that World Cup. But these were good players, but you underestimated them. And I mean, the less said about that game, the better. We absolutely got pummeled. Jim Leighton had a nightmare for one of the goals. But it was the last time we were there. And
was Craig Gordon up goals?
I think he was just coming through. Ken the longevity because he's top quality. But anyway, it was Scotland. The Tartan Army took over Paris. They done the march down the street with the kilts and all that on. And if we get back to a World Cup will be a better place, and it'll be a better place with Scotland in it. It'll be a party atmosphere. Scotland fans, to me, are similar to Celtic fans when they go on the road in Europe and wherever. They're similar, and they just want to have a good time and be pals with everybody. And you've seen that in the Euros, even down at Wembley and that. Some of the banter, some of the videos, you've seen the guy down the slide on his like bare belly in the rain. Absolutely brilliant. That's what it's all about. And Scotland are missed at big tournaments, and I really hope we can see them at a World Cup in the not so distant future.
Here to that. Couldn't agree more, mate. And Stephen, now there's a question for you. I know, as you say, international football's no your big thing, and we obviously know that you reside in the north of Ireland. But what is the sort of, maybe not even just with yourself, but the wider consensus? The good guys of the north kind of root for the Republic when they're at major tournaments, or is it really, there's a much kind of support either which way? You need to educate us on this.
Well, first of all, can I start by saying both North and South Irish teams, Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, are absolutely dog shit. Let's get that out there first, both of them. In terms of the whole supporting, I mean, you don't have to be a scientist to understand the Celtic supporter were kind of sided with the Republic. Rangers supporter was sided with Northern Ireland. And I mean, back in the day, when we were grounded,
is it as strong as that? It's what it was maybe even say 20, 30 years ago. Is that?
This is what I'm getting into. Like back in the day, it actually wasn't as bad in terms of, like, you could probably go to a Northern Ireland game and support the team and they really care where you're kind of coming from. But and that changed probably 80s, 90s, obviously for different reasons and the troubles and things like that. But it's just them. It's kept going and kept going and kept going. Wouldn't say there's much hatred. There's been a few football friendlies and stuff like that, which have went off no problem. But it's just kind of where it's ingrained to people. Not ingrained, but kind of, you're brought up with that kind of Republic of Ireland, or I mean the North. And I'm not really too fussed, to be fair. The Republic of Ireland team, never really had an affiliation with them. The same with Northern Ireland. I probably watched Scotland more than with the two nations over here, and that's being honest. But yeah, it's like everything over here. Everything's dictated by where you come from, what area you live in. Do I mean what school you went to, what club you support, what clubs you play for in your own kind of semi-professional amateur football career, what side of the community they're on as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's the issue which I would love to be sorted out. There's always calls for an All-Ireland team, but that wouldn't work. To do it with a rugby team, could you do it with a football team? You don't know. You never know unless Ireland obviously gets independence, which is a long, long, long way away. But yeah, Anthony, in terms of it, and I always said that they don't really bother me one iota. Both of them teams, I think they're both boring, to be honest. I think they're bog standard. I know that'll be fair to them. I know the Republic have a couple of good players coming through. In terms of the young players, I think it's Obafemi, plays for Southampton. He's a striker. They've got a couple of good players coming through like that to look out for. The team's probably going to get better. And Alistair Jack comes in here. Kenny's the problem. I agree. I don't think he has great managers and experience of Frank Kennedy. Yeah, he's probably changed when Lenny signed for Celtic, the toxic atmosphere. I kind of agree with that. But it's that whole thing. It's the whole issue. So you look at James McLean, you look at all that type of stuff and the kind of what he's subject to, and I don't like it, man. I don't like when religion comes into football. And yeah, don't get me wrong, I love banter between both sets of fans. I love all the banter. When it's game day, you give it your all, and not religious, obviously, but you give all your support and your passion. Then after that, you're friends again. I think that's normal everyday life. But to carry it on and make society blend into young kids and to bring up that, I don't like it. But I mean, if you go to the tournament Republic were involved in 2002, the last time I think they were in the World Cup, and I think the whole Robbie Keane, the famous cartwheel celebration, I think he scored against Germany.
Germany,
cartwheel celebration.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the whole controversy with Roy King, his namesake, from walking out of the camp because of facilities and stuff like that. People still don't understand the argument. And to be fair, I don't either. He claims to be a leader and all that kind of stuff. Stay with your team, regardless if you're training in the car park. And I know he had issues with Mick McCarthy at the time and things like that, but he kind of threw the wool over the camp, and they kind of fell apart from there from the seams, and wasn't nice to see. And ever since that, they've been absolutely terrible. So there's my summary of the Irish national thing.
See that game you're talking about?
Sorry,
no, so I was just going to say that, well, you said earlier, Anthony, remember where you were when you're talking about goals. Stephen's talking about that Robbie Keane against Germany. I mean, straight away I know where I was. I was in a woman's back kitchen, papering it, and I was leaning over the paste table watching it on our wee portable telly.
Is that euphemism?
Take for that what you will.
I was like, this is going to be the story of the night there. And then that's brilliant stuff, honestly. Superb. Well, as I said, that's kind of rounding off all the topics for the night, boys, with the exception of we've got a couple of quick agree to disagrees getting prestige. You're not wrong, Kaiser.
Somebody was.
2 coats, please.
What happened in that kitchen stays in that kitchen. And
he's just fucking told us what happened.
Just a wee touch up I was doing.
Aye, you were. You big put the gloss on.
So to round off proceedings tonight, boys, I say I'm going to do a wee quick couple of agree to disagrees. Anyone that doesn't know the format, it's absolutely nothing to do with the competition of the same format on Lad Bible with the same name. We absolutely haven't stole the idea at all. Basically, there's 4 options: disagree, strongly disagree, or agree or strongly agree with a statement made. And if you have different views, then feel free to debate them. So the first one, kind of on the topic that we were discussing earlier, guys. So the statement is, if either Messi or Ronaldo win the World Cup, it ends the debate over who is the greatest of all time, not just between the two, but overall.
Who's the two first?
Ross, you go first.
So if either of them win the World Cup, it ends the debate between them and overall.
Yeah.
For me, I don't think it does, because I don't think you can, just because they've won a World Cup, I don't think you can then say he's better than Messi or vice versa. It's for me, you judge somebody over their career and the way they've played on the pitch, and it doesn't always come down to trophies. It's like the argument, Paul Scholes, Steven Gerrard. People will say, well, Steven Gerrard never won a league title, and again, it's your personal preference. For me, I always said Gerrard was better, and always argued that it doesn't matter that he's not won a Premier League; he won everything else. But going away for Messi and Ronaldo, for me, you can't just say one is better than the other or better than any the rest because they've won a World Cup. It's an amazing feat, but it's no what settles that debate for me.
Yeah, very fair. So would you say strongly disagree or disagree?
I would strongly disagree. Sorry.
Fair enough. And what about yourself, Stephen?
I would strongly disagree for probably the fact as well, you have to look at these competitions as one-off games. And they're won by a team, not an individual on that given day. So you don't know if a certain player like Messi or Ronaldo's come off the bench, for example. That's all hypothetical. And who's kind of dragging them towards that game. And I mean, Messi, and that was the argument for years. I know he won the Euros in 2016, Ronaldo with Portugal. Messi kind of achieved the same feat over in his home country with the Copa America. So they're kind of level on everything. And as Ross said, like he argues Gerrard and all that type of stuff. Not going to get into that argument, but I look at it based on ability, and it doesn't matter how good you are today. Your team can let you down, and that's the reason why you lose a game. So it's a team game in this type of environment. It's a one-off game. Anything can happen. We've seen Saudi Arabia, for example, beat Argentina. That doesn't mean any of their players are better than the Argentinian players. Do you know what I mean? It just happened on that given day, and that was the way that the game fell. And yeah, I strongly disagree with that one. And Kaiser comes in, disagree. Ronaldo was better than them both, and he done it smiling.
By the way, can I just say, obviously, kind of off the back of that, like you look at Ronaldo and Messi, and you look at Ronaldo, he's probably the greatest goal scorer of all time. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But similar, like sort of way to argue it is, well, Maradona. I was going to say that Maradona won a World Cup on his own in '86. He essentially did, and I also look at it. I never seen Maradona's whole career, so it's difficult for me to say. But I try and look at it in the sense that Ronaldo scored more goals than him. Maradona was a bit mental. He probably didn't play the longevity of a Messi or a Ronaldo, but they're different guys. It's a different upbringing now. They're pure athletes. Maradona obviously wasn't that, but I look at it and I say to myself, well, could Messi or Ronaldo have won the Scudetto with Napoli. I don't think they could have. I think Maradona single-handedly took them to, I think they won 2, and I think it's maybe their only 2 in their history.
UEFA Cup as well, if I remember correctly.
UEFA Cup, aye. I don't think Messi and Ronaldo could have won Scudetto with that Napoli team. I don't think they would have done in '86 what Maradona done and won that World Cup. You look at it, they've had opportunities where their team's not been. It's difficult for me to say because I can't mind the '86 World Cup, but would you? People have said that probably Maradona, Argentina, weren't the best team on paper in '86, but Maradona won them the World Cup just by doing Maradona things. Messi and Ronaldo have been in teams that you widely regard as not the best team on paper, and they couldn't take them. But they're different tournaments. It's different arguments.
I think that Messi did go to a World Cup final with Argentina, and the reason why I think that game was lost, he lay like two or three chances to Higuain fluffed him. So it all depends. Obviously, if you're laying on a striker to score them goals, he misses. What else can you effectively do in that situation? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's good. For what it's worth, boys, I agree with you, so I disagree with the statement. I think it's that there's so many different factors to take in, and like you say, although Maradona himself is loved so much for what he did at Mexico '86, it's stuff that he did at club level and other things out with it why he's loved as well. It's not just because of what he did at a World Cup, as great as that achievement was. So yeah, I think the debate, regardless, will rage on for years, and that's all the better for us because it means there's more football content to talk about. So I think we're all on the disagree/strongly disagree on segment on that. And just to round it off, boys, second one tonight, we should listen to Arsene Wenger, and the World Cup should be held every 2 years. Stephen, what are you thinking?
Disagree. Because the Euros are still the competition, so how would you fit that in?
Well, it would obviously not be in the. They would have to rejig it.
So it'll be
one of the big things with FIFA just now is that they want to have a World Cup narrowed it for 42 years. So yeah, there would have to be some chat on how that would happen. But yeah, without the other tournaments being affected, but essentially having a World Cup every other summer.
I mean, FIFA are trying to organise 60-minute matches as well, which is an absolutely shambolic thing to even be talking about. But I mean, I disagree for the simple fact that you can dilute these competitions. As Ross said, as you said, you love looking forward to this and you love sitting watching it every 4 years, perfect. And I mean, the Champions League can't be diluted because it's in a club season. But if you're playing a World Cup every 2 years, then you look at the Nations League, that dilutes international football. You look at the Euros, then that becomes a hindrance to the World Cup. You look at all these different qualification campaigns, they're going to be crammed more into the leagues and there'll be more international breaks, probably more summer football taken into account as well. So I disagree for that. You're going to dilute a competition purely because other nations want to pay money to host it. Wait their turn, wait in line. If you're passing the brown envelope, it'll come in time. Do you know what I mean? If you give enough money, you're going to get it regardless. You're going to outbid someone or you're going to give someone a phone call at FIFA. It'd be quite easy to sort out, I'd imagine, but I disagree.
Tell you, he's been full of passion these last few episodes he's been on. It's great when the captain's in full floor, Ross. What about yourself? Do you agree with Arsene Wenger every 2 years?
No, I strongly disagree with that. Like Stephen said, it dilutes it. It takes away the romance, the World Cup, which, by the way, and I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, I still love the World Cup, but that romance is not quite there. It probably is because I'm getting older, but it's not quite that romance that you had in 94, 98, 90. Even I think the last World Cup where it was like that romance that I'm talking about was 2002 when it was Ronaldo won the World Cup against the odds after his knee injury, came back in and won the World Cup with Brazil. That was phenomenal. And it sticks in the memory. And then you could probably say 2006 at a push. But then once it gets to 2010, 14, I think it starts to, for me, dilute slightly. But you start doing it every 2 years, and it's 4 years is a long time to wait for a World Cup. And when it comes around, you're ready for it, and you've got that Euros in between to sort of break it up, if you like. But it's not the World Cup. It's still good, but it's not the World Cup. Not for every 2 years. Like Stephen says, it's just to try and fit all these countries in that want to get it, want to host it. But you'll get your turn. You just need to bide your time. And I don't like change, so no. Every 4 years is fine.
Can I just say something? Kaiser's asking, when is Alistair doing the fan takeover, lads? Well, basically, the reason why it's not going to be this month is because there's no Celtic content. We want to bring Alistair on to speak about the current going on at Celtic Football Club. So we'll probably be looking to do the next fan takeover, looking end of December, maybe start of January, just so there's Celtic stuff to talk about. This is just us filling these gaps of rewinds and spin-offs and things like that. But don't worry, anyone who wants to get involved with it again, give us a DM on Twitter, reach out. We'll be happy to have you all on. It'll be great crack to get involved with. But the next one, end of December, early January.
Absolutely. Looking forward to having Alistair on. It's going to be another good. It's great when the fans come on and kind of get to hear their views on all things football as well, especially Celtic. But for what it's worth, boys, I'm strongly agreeing with you two and strongly disagreeing with the question. I'm like you guys. It's every 4 years. It's Olympic Games. It's that gravitas. It's a showcase, a showpiece event, and it's just one of those things that, like you say, it comes round, and like you say, Ross, it maybe has lost its magic over the years. And as you get a bit kind of more wise as to how these things are organised, and obviously all the stuff that's went on, and the organising, the building of the stadiums and things like that, and all the stuff that goes on in shady backroom deals and whatnot. But on the night, when it all comes together and the tournament kicks off and then it gets underway, it still does have that wee bit of magic, even though it's maybe not quite as much as what it used to have. But I'm with you guys. It should be every 4 years. You've got that nice little palate cleanser every 2 years with the Euros. But it should be 4 years and that's it. And it makes it more special when you get all the top players for every nation coming together. Mm-hmm. Only happens every 4 years, and that's why all the great players want to do their best at it, because they know that there's very few times that they're ever going to be able to do it in their careers. But that brings tonight's show to an end, boys. Going back over this year's tournament so far and tournaments for years gone by, have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's been really good. Really enjoyed it. Yep. It's been fun.
Take my mind off my cold.
Yeah, definitely.
He's on great form tonight, topics wise and opinion wise, but he's have definitely sounded better in terms of he's coughing away there, boys. He's needing a couple of nights under the sheets, lem sip, just a wee hot toddy, as they say.
Aye.
A couple of tasting tables.
The endless flame tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be, Stephen, I'll go back to yourself. What's happening on the Friday night show at 8 o'clock?
So Friday night is going to be another spin-off with Willie hosting, Anne's v Brendan, kind of breaking down their tactics, kind of going by different squads. We're going to come to an agreement with a combined 11, much like our Nopes 11 caused a lot of debate on Twitter. So again, we're hoping to do that, generate with the comments. If you have your opinions, please get involved, and we'll talk amongst ourselves and see who gets in the lineup. So then we'll agree who's a better manager. I think it's obviously right now, who my choice is. But I mean, another one to look forward to, another bit of crack. I think we'll be all having a couple of beers. Beer 52 again, guys. Get on to it. But yeah, be good crack, and be another one to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to listening in, and then next Monday we'll be doing another Champions League rewind. We're just going to try and get a few of these done whilst the international football still comes on. But thanks again to everyone for getting involved in the show tonight, for watching, and for putting your comments up on the live chat. And as I say, Stephen's tried to get as many up as he can. And we also have next Friday, so not this Friday, come the week after, we're going to be doing our big World Cup quiz with a few years on Friday night. So I'm really looking forward to that. And like you say, get a few beers, a few international beers, no doubt. And that's it. We just love watching Ross slowly divulge into steamingness. as the night proceeds. I can't wait. So that should be good. So plenty of episodes and content for you to look forward to in the coming weeks ahead. But that's for us for tonight, guys. Thanks again. And I'll leave it to Stephen to give the outro.
And until Friday, till Answer Brendan, stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.